In today's episode of the Pathway Presents podcast, I got a very interesting guest here with me today. I'm with William Harris. He's the founder and CEO of Elumynt. And at Elumynt, basically, they're helping to drive, KPIs, to drive basically advertising for their clients in a very measurable way, because, KPIs is what they're working towards too. So in the end, today we want to really deep dive into what Elumynt is all about, the services they provide, but also, once we got people on the show that are, driving marketing for others, we obviously want to learn how they're thinking about growth for the agency as well. So welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you, Luke. It's good to be here.
Of course, William. So give us a quick overview. What is Elumynt all about in your own words?
Sure. So Elumynt, we are a rapid growth e-commerce agency. We've helped 13 of our clients get acquired. Many of those were for upwards of $50 million. The largest one sold for about $800 million. We were ranked as the 12th fastest growing agency in the world by Adweek just a couple weeks ago, actually. And Google hand selected us as one of only a couple dozen agencies for their IGAP, their International Growth Agency Program. And the biggest way that we accomplish this growth is through advertising. So, Facebook, Meta ads, Google ads, TikTok, Reddit, etc. Because we've developed a series of systems for optimizing ads around EBITDA, profit, instead of ROAS or other metrics that we just think don't matter as much.
Very cool. So, what types of businesses would you then typically work with? What are the ones that are benefiting, most from the types of services that you're doing? Is there certain sort of, characteristics that make a great client?
Yeah, so our best clients are e-commerce stores that are spending at least $100,000 a month on ads, typically on Shopify Plus, but we do work with many other platforms as well, like Commerce Cloud, Magento, WooCommerce, etc. We don't love to verticalize too much because that can become very limiting. For instance, we already work with snow golf balls, so we aren't going to take on another golf ball client, or we'd end up spending too much of our time competing against ourselves. Which doesn't make a lot of sense. But the point is that our methods are, I guess, vertical agnostic. They work equally as well for all verticals. So it's really about us aligning ourselves with brands that we believe have what it takes to be the absolute dominant player in their space. You don't have to have $100,000 a month in ad spend to work with us. We just feel that at that level, there's enough data within the account for us to be able to come in and really have something to work with to make some significant improvements and gains. You've already proven that you've got product market fit. So there's a lot of things that are already out of it. Now it's a matter of saying, great, who are the experts at advertising around profit? How do they come in, which would be us, and be able to scale that from there? Otherwise, the only other requirement that we say that we have is no jerks. So ideally, somebody who is pleasant to work with would be the other key thing.
Very good. Now, how do these folks learn about Elumynt? Like, what's the journey that they're going through? What are the channels that they're actually learning about you guys?
So the overwhelming majority of our clients come from referrals. We do great work, so those clients and their partners like to share us with others. That's the best way to grow an agency, in my opinion, and the only true way to know that you have what it takes to be the most successful across the most businesses that you take on. Outside of that, though, we do get a good amount of clients that come just straight to our website because they've seen us either on a podcast or some content that we've published on Entrepreneur or Inc. or Fast Company, etc. From the experience, the journey that people take, I mean, a lot of this is going to be similar to what you'd hear for maybe like a content focused agency, which is if they're not being introduced directly to us from a referral, they're seeing us, either through one of the blog posts that we just talked about, maybe on some of these other sites, or they're seeing us on social media where we've shared this or somebody else has shared something that we have put together, out there on Facebook or TikTok or something along those lines, LinkedIn. So that's the biggest part of it. And then obviously coming through to our website from there and filling out the contact form. So a pretty simple user journey.
Very good. And in that user journey that you just described, like what role would you say does the website play? I mean, we've had agencies on the show where it plays a major role. We have agencies on the show where it plays a minor role. Like, how do you think about the website?
If I had to guess, rough numbers, 90% are referrals. Website plays very little other than to be a source of verification that somebody just referred them to somebody that they already like, right? But they made the introduction via email, and so now it's more of like a, let's say, like a trust factor to have the website there. So they're looking at case studies, et cetera, right? Or things like that they can look at and say, okay, this is legit, this is real. For people who come to us from a content perspective, that's more of like a, when you're a referral, you already have some trust built up. This is more, it's like they're coming to the website to see, like, is there any reason why I should trust this? They said something interesting. And so I think in that context, the website plays a significantly important role, because now they're coming to the website, oftentimes, but more likely coming to a blog post that we wrote. And so they're going to say, do I align with what you just said on this or not? Do I agree with that, right? And if they do, then obviously they're going to try to click around and browse around a little bit more. They're going to maybe go to the home page. They're going to go to the services page. They're going to go to, the case studies and say, oh, this is interesting. I want to learn more about them. And so I'd say that in that situation, the website is probably the most pivotal tool that we have.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Very cool. Now, we talked a lot about what you guys are doing. We talked about sort of the clients you're working with and the sort of the type of growth that you're generating. Now, I'm curious about your own role, right? There's so much content out there that you could learn about and read. There's even specific agency, there's content for agency leaders. Like, where do you personally like to educate yourself with all the noise out there?
Man, that's good. So I go very counterintuitive to what's out there. I appreciate reading the stuff that's already out there. I appreciate Adweek is probably at the top of my list for things that are in here, but I still appreciate, I would say, Twitter. Actually, is one of the best places. But you have to be careful there. If you know what you're looking for, then you can weed through the 90% of comments that are absolute garbage. That are not good tactics, that people are saying that maybe worked 3 or 4 years ago, but it's just not going to work anymore. And so I'd say that for me, it feels fine. For people who are experts in the industry, if it's somebody who's not necessarily an expert at advertising, I'd say that you could get yourself into a lot of trouble potentially if you start going through some of those. But the thing that I like about it is that it's discourse. There's a lot of opportunity for you to be able to just go there, read, and make up your own mind and see what are people agreeing with, what are people disagreeing with, and what can you take from that and use it as an opportunity to test things out yourself. But where I'd say that I really venture off outside of that is I like going into things that are not advertising related at all. Specifically, I really like getting into reading more about psychology. And I really like reading more about, let's just say, logic and algorithms and math. I'm huge math aficionado fan in my free time. And I think that there's a lot that you can learn there. And so there's some basic concepts and stuff that I've put together around even just Simpson's paradox and Bayes' theorem and other really good statistics principles that I think apply significantly to advertising, that I don't see being talked about on any of the advertising blogs, Adweek or anybody. And so I like looking, I think, a little bit beyond what the norm would be.
Very cool. That sounds very interesting. I guess actually some marketers, should be, now if you're listening in, look up Simpson's paradox. It's a very interesting concept and might be giving you a very new perspective. Very cool. I'm very glad you brought that up. So now let's wrap it up with some rapid fire questions. Are you ready for those?
Let's go.
What is the last book that you read?
Here's the thing. So you even gave me the heads up, and I tried to look at this real quick to see on my iBooks before you did this. I don't know off the top of my head, but I would say the last book that I know that I read every day would be the Bible. So it's not the last official book that I've read all the way through cover to cover, but.
What's one single thing that your company is focused on the most at the moment?
Growing companies' EBITDA profit. So that is the thing that kind of drives our absolute focus on everything that we're doing with our customers, especially as we go into the recession that we're maybe not allowed to officially call a recession yet. Helping clients understand how can we look at advertising from a profit perspective.
If there would be no boundaries in tech, what's the one thing that you would fix for your role as a marketer?
Oh, no boundaries in tech. I think we're really close to this, and I got to give a shout out to Mark Zuckerberg. I don't know if you've gotten into VR at all. I love VR. I really appreciate it. Horizon Workspaces is actually really good. I've done a few meetings there. The avatars are still cartoonish, but really interesting. And you actually do feel like you're sitting at the table with somebody. It's a lot better than, Zoom calls and Google Meets and stuff. The thing that I think is going to take it to that next level is what Meta is calling their codec avatar, CODEC. They're absolutely insane. It looks exactly like it's just you. The one of the issues they're running into is that it takes, I think, 2 weeks processing time to actually build a codec avatar for each person. That's one of the limitations right now for that. The other limitation is making sure they have really good security in place, because as you can imagine, if it looks identical to you, it is you, not cartoon you, it is you, like video you. They got to know who's allowed to drive it. And I think the big part of what they're doing is almost retina scanners, right? So if you put on your VR headset, it's only you that can drive that, but even that has its own limitations. So there's some tech issues that need to be solved yet first for that.
Very, very interesting topic. Now, very last question. If today would be your very first day founding Elumynt, what's the one thing or one advice that you would give yourself for the journey? Well, what is it? Nearly 10 years, right? So what's the one advice you would give yourself for the journey?
I would tell myself to buckle up. I'm a sprinter. I did the 100-meter pole vault, long jump, high jump, all short twitch, played basketball, right? I was the only 6-foot white kid who was doing 360 dunks on the court. Love my short twitch. I'm not a distance runner. I did cross country 1 year to get in shape for basketball season. I think it was my 8th grade year. It was absolute most miserable 2 miles I ever ran, right? Like, it was not my sport. So just make sure you take the time to be human, work out, eat right, enjoy friends and family. This won't be a sprint. Make sure you're ready for this marathon.
Thanks a lot for being a guest on Pathfinder Presents.
Thanks again, Luke.